250,000 francs in 1925. That was a fortune, enough to buy a dozen mansions in Paris. The man who received that sum walked away smiling. He had just sold the Eiffel Tower. Not a piece of it, the whole thing. 7,000 tons of iron built for the 1889 World's Fair, originally meant to be scrapped in 1909. But by 1925, the tower was a beloved monument. So how did a con man convince a scrap metal dealer that the French government had secretly put it up for sale? He didn't just sell it once, he sold it twice, and he got away with both. No arrest, no trial, no prison. The scam worked so perfectly that the second victim never even reported the crime. That is the unsettling part. The con wasn't a failure, it was a masterpiece. So how did he pull it off? The answer is not what you expect. It involves a forged document, a fake government official, and a man who understood that the most powerful force in the world is not greed, it is trust. It was never meant to last. The Eiffel Tower rose from the 1889 World's Fair as a temporary spectacle, a lattice of iron meant to dazzle for 20 years, then vanish. By 1909, the city of Paris owned a monument that was supposed to be scrap. But the tower stayed. It became a symbol, a radio mast, a money pit. Maintenance costs climbed. The original permit expired. And in the minds of many Parisians, the structure was still a temporary eyesore, an expensive, rusting liability. That ambiguity was the opening Victor Lustig needed. He arrived in 1925, a suave Austro-Hungarian con artist with a gift for reading greed. He knew the city was quietly desperate. The tower was costing a fortune to maintain, and the government had no clear plan. So Lustig planted a seed. What if the Eiffel Tower could be dismantled and sold for scrap? The idea wasn't absurd. It was the original plan. He just needed the right mark. But how do you convince someone they can buy a national landmark? You're a scrap dealer in 1925 Paris. A letter arrives on official government stationery. It invites you to a confidential meeting at the Hôtel de Crillon. The subject, the Eiffel Tower. Victor Lustig sits across the table. He wears a tailored suit, speaks with the calm authority of a deputy director. He explains the problem. The tower is a money pit. Maintenance costs are staggering. The government, he says, has quietly decided to sell it for scrap. But the public must never know. Therefore, the deal is secret. And the price, a steal. He names the figure 250,000 francs. That's roughly $1 million today for a monument of iron. The logic is seductive. The tower was built for a World's Fair, never meant to last. Now it's just a liability. You do the math, you could dismantle it, sell the metal, and walk away rich. Lustig plays the part perfectly. He shows forged documents. He hints at bribes to secure the contract. The dealers compete for the privilege. One man, André Poisson, bites hardest. He hands over the cash. Lustig pockets it, shakes his hand, and vanishes. The first sale went flawlessly. But why stop there? Subscribe to uncover history's wildest untold scams. You'd think once would be enough, but Lustig returned to Paris. Same city, same monument, same con. He found another scrap dealer, a man with money and ambition. The pitch was identical. The Eiffel Tower was too expensive to maintain. The government wanted it gone, and only a select few knew. The dealer saw profit. He handed over a fortune. This time, the mark didn't just lose money, he lost face. When the papers never mentioned a dismantling, he didn't go quiet. He went to the police. Lustig learned of the investigation before the handcuffs closed. He packed a bag. He left Paris. The authorities searched, but the conman had vanished. No name, no trail, no arrest. The second victim was left with nothing but a story no one believed. Therefore, Lustig escaped justice in Paris. But he didn't stop. He crossed the Atlantic, changed his name, and started again. The same charm, the same lies. A new country. How did he escape justice in Paris, only to meet his downfall elsewhere? Victor Lustig wasn't born a conman. He was forged in the collapse of an empire. Born on January 4, 1890, in what was then Austro-Hungary, he grew up watching borders dissolve and currencies evaporate. Therefore, he learned early. Trust is a currency you can counterfeit. By his 20s, he'd already run scams across Europe, fake printing presses, bogus money machines, a counterfeit note scheme that nearly landed him in prison. But he slipped away every time he arrived in Paris in 1925 with nothing but a tailored suit and a forged government credential. The Eiffel Tower stood rusting, originally meant to be dismantled in 1909, a perfect mark. He didn't just sell it once, he sold it twice. The first buyer, a scrap dealer named André Poisson, paid him a fortune, enough to fill a small vault, and never saw Lustig again. Yet Lustig returned months later, sold the same tower to another dealer, and vanished again. He was never caught for either sale. But this wasn't his first crime, nor his last. What other schemes did this smoothest criminal pull off before his final act? He crossed the Atlantic, leaving the Eiffel Tower in his rearview. America was a fresh hunting ground, bigger marks, looser laws. For years he worked the grift, fake investment schemes, a money-printing machine that fooled bankers, a counterfeit operation that printed more than cash, it printed his downfall. The Treasury got wind. Agents closed in. But Lustig had always slipped away before. Not this time. They caught him in a sting, and the charges stacked high. A federal judge looked at the file, decades of fraud, a trail of ruined lives, and gave him a sentence measured in years, not months. Alcatraz, the rock, the prison that swallowed men whole. He arrived at 46, still wearing that unshakable smile. Guards expected a broken man. Instead, they found a performer. He charmed the wardens, traded stories with the toughest inmates, and began planning something no one saw coming. But even prison couldn't break his legendary charm. What was his final trick? Could someone sell the Eiffel Tower today? The answer is no, but that misses the point entirely. The tower is now a permanent icon, owned by the city, watched by cameras, buried in contracts. You cannot fake a government tender for a structure millions visit every year. Therefore, Lustig's genius wasn't the tower itself, it was the mechanism. Create urgency, manufacture secrecy, and let the mark's own greed do the convincing. Those three gears still turn today. The same playbook sells fake carbon credits, phantom real estate, and AI startups that exist only on paper. The structure is identical. The mark still believes they've found a back door. The con artist still vanishes before the truth surfaces. Lustig sold a monument. Modern fraudsters sell a feeling, the fear of missing out, the thrill of insider access, and they get away with it, just as he did. The Eiffel Tower stands as a symbol of Paris, but it also stands as a warning. If something seems too good to be true, the flaw isn't the offer, it's your willingness to believe. So who's running the next con right now? And what's the next Eiffel Tower waiting to be sold? He didn't need to forge a single document. He just needed the city to believe what it already suspected, that the Eiffel Tower was a money pit, a rusting monument to a World's Fair that ended decades ago. Built for 1889, meant to be torn down in 1909. By 1925, that deadline had come and gone, but the memory of it lingered. So when a well-dressed man calling himself a government official whispered to 6 scrap dealers that the tower was finally being sold for scrap, the story felt inevitable. Greed did the rest. The first sale closed at 250,000 francs, roughly $1 million today. The mark, André Poisson, paid in cash. Lustig even took a bribe to grease the wheels. Then he vanished. The mark was too humiliated to go to the police. So Lustig returned to Paris and sold it again. Same script, same city, different mark. And again, no one came forward. How? Because the con didn't sell a lie. It sold a truth people already wanted to believe, that the system was corrupt, that insiders got the deals, that you had to act fast or lose everything. Lustig just handed them the excuse. The lesson is unsettling. Every market has a crack where a story like this fits. The next one isn't a man in a suit selling a tower. It's a platform, a token, a promise you can't verify, and you're already inside it. Next time, the secret monopoly that controls the world's light bulbs and the cartel that made them burn out on purpose. This is the monopoly matrix where business meets the bizarre.